Hi, everybody, and welcome to our SIPs webinar on the future of sustainable construction. What if I was to tell you that there was a different type of construction? One which was different than your traditional way, one which is quicker, greener, and would save you money on your bills. And in short, that is SIPs. And SIPs are structural insulated panels. So my name is Mark Hood. I am the Director of Architecture at Resi. My responsibility is people, the processes, the quality, and the general team of this 40 cracking architects and consultants and designers here at Resi in London. And I'm all responsible for rolling out the new technologies, the newish technologies, and one of them being SIPs. So I'm very excited to be here today, and I'm here with one of our resident experts in SIPs, Karami.
Hi, hello. My name is Karami. I am an architectural technologist, and I am a building regulation senior here at Resi.
Yeah.
I've been in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry for over 10 years. Yeah.
And you're an expert in SIPs.
I'm the resident expert in
Yes.
SIPs. I've spent some time researching the various products, been to construction trade shows, been on site. I've been to factories to witness the production process.
You're the best man for the job. And this, before we get started, we want to offer the first 50 people, if you're watching live now or watching back on YouTube or watching on the link, a free SIPs advice call with one of our technologists and a free site visit whenever you're on site with your SIPs project. So if you're interested in this, send an email to technical@resi.co.uk with the code Resi SIPs. So that's technical@resi.co.uk with the code SIPs, and the first 50 people will get a free call and a visit with us to you in site if you live within a reasonable distance. So today we're going to talk about, first of all, a bit about Resi, the company Resi. We're going to keep it high level and talk about SIPs in general and what they are. Then we're going to focus on the benefits of SIPs to residential extensions, and then compare them like for like with traditional methods. So traditional, which your brick and masonry or your timber construction. And then finally, your case studies and a bit of a Q&A at the end. Sound good?
Sounds great. Let's go.
So first of all, Resi. So Resi, we are the UK's #1 home extension company, and we have been going for about 7 years now. Done about 8,000 projects. So we know what we're doing. We focus primarily on extensions, and we try and make the whole process a bit more easier for the homeowner. We introduce you to the right suppliers and builders. We take the stress out of home development, and we're the #1 architecture company on Trustpilot, so we're pretty good at it as well. And we're also trying to break boundaries and educate our customers and our builders and our architects in these new technologies like SIPs and retrofits, and that's why we're here today. So, in the simplest terms, what are SIPs? So, Cromie, how would you describe SIPs?
So SIPs is a structurally insulated panel, meaning that you get from a lamination process, you get the structure and insulation sandwiched together.
So it's like one piece of material. You got is it the chipboard other side?
Its current materials would either be it would be OSB 3 board, and then you would get the insulation in the middle, which might most likely be extruded polystyrene, or the urethane, polyurethane.
And I'm right in saying it's bonded on, at the best you can glue or bond, but typically it's bonded onto the OSB board?
Yeah, so at the moment you have a glued process for manufacture. Usually that's with the extruded polystyrene, or sometimes with the polyurethane as well. But some manufacturers have taken it a step further where they bond the urethane to the OSB 3 board. So the polyurethane is applied wet, and then the OSB board is rolled out, and then that the next layer is applied, and there's a setting time where that hardens and becomes as one.
Yeah. So basically, it's a very strong sandwich of materials.
Yes, it's no longer three separate elements. Once it's bonded, it acts as one, which greatly improves strength.
It's we talked previously, or we always talk about the strength, the thermal efficiency, and the versatility of the whole product.
Yeah, so with a SIPs buildup, you can get a cladded panel, fully cladded and insulated to the energy conservation standards by about 265 millimeters.
Yeah.
Just to compare that to a traditional brick or any other masonry with today's standards for insulation, the lowest thickness you can get is about 320 millimeters.
Yeah.
That's with masonry. So,
And it's all done off-site. It's done in the factory, and they basically bring it from the factory to site, and it's ready to install.
yeah, so the panels they basically milled to the design that's been supplied.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all done off-site in a controlled environment. So very accurate.
Helps with waste.
And minimizes waste as well.
Yeah.
That's one of the pluses. So when it comes on site, you can get to assembly and watertight quicker.
Yeah. And so it's faster, it's greener, it's a bit smarter, and it's just an all-round and more thermally efficient use of materials.
Yeah, so materials, space, and speed.
Fantastic. Okay, we like to sometimes go big picture, and we really believe SIPs matter. And they matter because the construction industry is such, it weighs very heavy on the global impact of carbon emissions, and SIPs has a chance of reducing that, reducing the operational carbon and reducing the generally the decarbonization of our construction portfolio. And it is a high performance material. It's the way it uses air tightness. It stops the releasing of heat. And I know Crami's going to talk here about the RIBA 2030 climate challenge. It immediately interacts with how we reduce operational and body carbon.
Yeah, so that challenge is basically to assist architectural designers or architects in connection with the Green Construction Board to basically reduce operational energy, embodied carbon, and also to potable water use and
Health and well-being.
yeah, well-being, health and well-being. Um, with regards to operational use, there's already work being done where, like for instance, with insulation thicknesses, on in 5-year intervals, we can see like the building regulations is going to increase gradually thicknesses of insulation. So that is one aspect that's being looked at. The next thing that could be looked at is air tightness.
Yep.
And this is where we feel that SIPs can be a major player.
Yep.
With regards to addressing that, because we already know that in the construction industry, the amount of we contribute towards greenhouse gases.
Yep.
Um, if we could lower or reduce our usage or dependency on fossil fuels, that would help.
Yeah, and this would go. This sometimes I put it in a way that people want to try and make a difference, and if you're extending your home, you can make a difference with the carbon emissions going into our atmosphere by building in SIPs. It will weigh less heavily on the decarbonization of our atmosphere by building in this form.
Yeah, so just making inroads to try to reduce, first of all, if imagine if every household that's doing an extension considers reducing their footprint, that is a big thing.
Yeah.
It all adds up to a big thing. The materials and products that's available now, most of them are not 100% zero emissions, but it helps by reducing,
Absolutely.
and that's the first step.
And Resi, we are doing about 130 extensions a month. And it's our ambition to try and roll this year out as many of them as possible. And our way of doing it there is educating our customers and the benefits of them. So that is literally why we're here today, to try and do our bit for the environment by educating our customers and the benefits of SIPs so you can make an informed decision. Okay, so SIPs first traditional construction. Obviously, one of the ones we always talk about is speed, because it's all done on, or the SIPs are designed in the office, built off-site and brought to site, and you can build a SIPs we've seen in a couple of days, like a full extension.
Yeah, so you would have the design, you know, with the client, and yeah, you work through normally, your layout, and what you'd like in your space that you're looking to develop, in just the same way as any sort of other material that you might use. And then that gets passed on, and it gets checked. You have a process where builders are introduced to review,
Drawings.
how it's going to go on site, because we usually deal with existing buildings.
Yep.
And it's always advised, with existing buildings, for you to, you know, take some necessary checks and feasibility,
Yep.
To make sure that once this product arrives on site, everything fits together
Yeah.
as intended.
Yeah. And doing the work before site means once it gets to site, you can get your building watertight
Yeah.
much quicker than traditional construction.
Yeah.
You can get your wet trades in, you can get your sparkies in. So it encloses your house much quicker than waiting for your brick by brick building extension from the bottom up. The SIPs, the walls come in pre-milled,
Yes.
and you're ready to go quicker.
100%. So, like, the work that's and the time that goes in pre site, it pays off, because you want, by the time you get on site, it would be a quicker build.
Yeah.
Quicker builds, we know that it helps to reduce operational costs,
Yeah.
the building costs, because energy will be consumed as well,
Yeah.
while the builders are on site. We know with shorter build schedules, that can go some way as well to reduce cost.
Yeah. And you talked there about this the energy efficiency of it. It is proven that SIPs will reduce your bills because it is a more thermally efficient building. You're less likely to lose heat to the walls. The air tightness helps with that as well. So you can see your building will be up to 60% more energy efficient. So you will be able to save money on your bills every month to heat your house.
Yeah, so this, because of the air tightness, the structure that's formed,
Yeah.
is normally walls and roofs in
It
SIPs.
encloses the whole building, the
Yeah,
whole space. So you're extending.
the space. So whatever energy that you consume to heat your home, it doesn't leak out as quickly as, say, traditional building methods. And that's how you can go towards reducing your dependency on fossil fuels,
Yeah.
in that way.
Cassie, if I see you raise your hand, if you put your question into the chat, then we can pick them all up at the very end, so we can. And that they are more lightweight. So we always use the the idea of you want to be able to bring your SIPs through the front door. If you can bring something through your front door of a row of terrace houses, you have the ability to build an extension quite quickly, quite let's call it affordably. So because they are lightweight, with two individuals, you can get them through the front door and into your rear of the building.
Yeah, so there is a lot of opportunity with utilizing SIPs to um, so that it can be manhandled into place without the dependency of plant and machinery,
Yep.
which can also affect cost and probably, if depending on where plant and machinery is sited, could also cause uh, damage to, say, roots,
Yeah.
existing trees and roots. So yeah.
And there's also, we are always talking to, we've got about 100 builders on our Resi platform, and the sort of impending skill shortage with the labours on site at the minute is definitely a concern for many builders. And this, there is a edge or a training piece which is required for builders to use these materials. But whenever we speak to SIPs companies, they're like, if you can build in timber, you can build in SIPs. But this needs less individuals to build it. So two individuals on site can put up an extension quite quickly, whereas you need multiple trades to do your the block work and the bricks and the insulation. So there's less site is on site. You require less labor to build a SIP project than you would a traditional project. Okay, so that is the benefits. I think it's also really important to talk about the potential risks as well. So with the risk, to be really explicit, at the minute, SIPs they aren't cheaper than bricks and masonry. They aren't cheaper than timber. It's at the same price or a bit more expensive, and this can deter customers. But whenever you look at it with a more longer term view, so first of all, of getting into your home quicker. So you're instead of being on site for 4 months, you're on site for 3 months. It's a massive benefit. You may save some costs on your rental accommodation. And also, if you're saving money on your bills every single month over a period of 5, 6, 7 years, again, you would make them costs up. So although the initial cost can be a bit more expensive, the longer term picture creates a much more attractive view. What do you think?
Yeah, so we are definitely seeing that the SIPs are coming in a little less, or sometimes a little more, or sometimes at the same cost
Yeah,
as the traditional masonry, cavity masonry construction.
yeah,
Um, so, we envisage, like, over a period of time, that can come down, because there's obviously a skills gap that needs to be filled, and
yeah,
as it becomes a prevalent material on site, that can help. But there are long-term gains
yeah,
with like running your house or with a airtight
yeah,
form of construction will definitely help to reduce costs long term
yeah,
in terms of your energy consumption. And then the speed of which the extension goes up on site um, will help with that as well.
yeah.
So
And we talked previously about it's super important to get the pre-design, the technical design fully coordinated before you get to site. There are limited site modifications. You're gonna have a full all your walls and your windows and your doors all cut out, all milled in the factory before it gets to site. So it is highly beneficial to try and get that work done before you get to site, because you are limited to the modifications on site. So as long as you don't rush it, do it properly, get the hard work done with your architect or your technologists, you have a much better chance of not needing any modifications. And the skill that you do require skilled laborers for this. I think this can put some builders off. But again, we will talk about it in the next slide, but we work with companies to try and train and credit builders in this, because if you can build in timber, you can build in SIPs. It really is that straightforward. It's like a jigsaw. You're putting the pieces together. So I think that's more of a perception piece rather than the reality of not believing that you can build in SIPs because of the complexity of it.
Yes. So the SIPs is not a complex material to use. It's just that the traditional builder might be unfamiliar. So when most builders, when they face with unfamiliarity, they tend to want to go the safe route.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a process in place to care for our customers to ensure that the SIPs is being installed in the way that the manufacturers has advised, and to ensure that the product will have that warranty in place
Yeah.
on the end of completion. So yeah.
I think there is a bit of some customers can resist this because it's not in America. This is very common, but in the UK it's not as common. So again, we're trying to sort of de-risk this whole process by making people more familiar because it is it's quite normal.
Yeah.
It's quite straightforward to build. It's just that there's a perception of the complexities.
Yeah. So in terms of testing, SIPS has been around for a while. It's been around since the 1930s. It was used by famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright, and then a student Frank Lloyd Wright helped to develop the sort of manufacturing process, and that has evolved to what we see today, where we have these options. So in terms of testing, this product has been tested for some time now. So we know it works.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of here in the UK, the confidence in utilizing this product.
And finally, there is a limitation with lofts. Some SIPs companies say they can build in lofts, but we are reluctant. We're reluctant because, in the most simplest terms, SIPs it's square material, and it needs a really good datum, a really good sub base, a really good level. You can get that with foundations for a rear extension, for two-story extensions, for side extensions. But for loft extensions for existing buildings, sometimes if you've got an old Victorian house, it really kind of moves over the time. So you don't have that sort of consistent base. Then all of a sudden you lose the air tightness. You lose that sort of consistency of the sort of structure. So we don't currently recommend building this with lofts. One of our case studies, we did a rear extension with SIPs and we did the loft with timber. So it just for us right now, we feel more confident in doing that.
Yeah, the great thing about timber is it's organic. It adjusts and flexes over the years compared to even products for like steel and concrete, which would just fail and collapse straight away. But the properties of timber, it moves with the existing house. That's not so good for SIPs because SIPs is manufactured in a controlled factory environment. So it comes in very accurate, very precise, very square, and trying to match that up with timber that's been there for years in an existing loft, it might end in you having to do a lot of adjustments on site,
which you don't want.
which is not ideal. So we would normally advise for timber frame construction for the loft.
Yeah. Okay, so what are Resi doing to promote SIP? So like I said previously, we're in this unique position where we do have over 100 builders on our Connect platform. We are speaking to our customers all the time on platforms like this, and we got our 40 architects and technologists and designers here in Oval in London. So we're trying to do the whole piece. So educate ourselves, educate our builders, and make our customers aware of the benefits and also the risks. We've done this very recently where we it was last week, Olivia had 660 builders in the office here, and we done a presentation to them on the benefits of SIPs. We're trying to educate them, and they have alternative options, and we're trying to bring them through the accreditation so they become accredited in delivering SIPs. We also have market-leading partnerships. We're working with Bentley SIPs, and Karami spoke previously about the differences in bonding a SIPs panel and gluing a SIPs panel. We go for the bonding. The bonding is really important for us because it is what the mortgage companies they want to see. That's what they're confident in providing financing for. So this is us really demonstrating that we only go for the highest quality of SIPs. And it is our ambition to turn our 130 projects a month into 130 SIPs projects. I don't think we'd ever get to 130, but a good proportion. If we had the majority of our projects in SIPs, like 50% over the next 3 to 5 years, we have a real opportunity to bring down the cost of SIPs to our customers. If we bring down the cost of SIPs to our customers, all of a sudden you've got speed, green, quality, and cost. It becomes this really attractive piece. And we're all we've been to the SIPs factory, we've been to the trade shows, we've got CPDs and SIPs, we've got this Connect Even. So we're really trying to do what we can and do our bit as Resi to get the word out there on the benefits of SIPs to all parties. What do you think?
Yeah. So yeah. Well, the product itself, we've already done extensive research into how it works. One of the things we realized early on is that customers don't have the information they need to just take on this type of build on their own. So we were very fortunate to find a product with the assistance from start to finish
From Bentley SIPs?
from Bentley SIPs,
Yeah.
and a product that comes with warranties,
Yeah.
20-year warranty. So, that's the way we would feel comfortable to, speak about this and
recommend it.
and recommend this to uh, our customers.
Yeah, good man. This is a case study we completed a few weeks ago. So do you want to talk us through this project, Karami?
Yeah, this is a two-story side extension with a loft conversion. This was done in SIPs. The walls on the two-story side and the roof, and the extension in the loft was timber frame. There's a lot of tech that went into this product. You have a smart boilers, heat storage. You have photovoltaics. There's mechanical ventilation with heat recovery in there. There's a zero emission boiler. So this particular client, went all in to try to minimize operational costs.
It was a success. You could never tell that was built on anything different than what was there before.
Yeah, just like any other building,
Yeah.
came together on site, used a polymer render and external wall insulation on the existing part. So yeah, this was a success.
Fantastic. Okay. So that is our presentation on SIPs. We are going to open the floor to some questions. Just bear with me a second. So first question from Mayank Gupta. Could the SIPs be used to achieve Enerfit passive house standards?
Enerfit.
Enerfit's like the gold standard of.
So there's three. There's classic. There's super, prime, and super.
Yeah.
I've never heard of NSFs, but you can definitely use it to achieve passive house standards, mainly because of the air tightness.
Yeah. So in short, yes, Mayank. And again, if anyone here is interested in the offer of speaking to us about SIPs. So technical at Resi with the code Resi SIPs, and we can talk about this in more detail. My okay, so Emily Fitch, what about the PIR installation not being eco-friendly?
Yes, the polyurethane, it is a petrochemical. Um, but the aim, as we said, is to start to reduce um, and operational costs. It you can never tell how much you're going to utilize in terms of energy to heat your home. Once you've constructed with the SIPs, um, that's a fixed embodied carbon, if you'd like to look at it that way. And also, at the rate that technology is improving in the construction industry, it's an amazing time.
Yeah.
So we're expecting for materials and the performance to improve
Yeah,
over
and
time.
we'd never want to hide that, Emily. But it's the bigger picture which we are confident on the eco-friendly and benefits of this. Does SIP structurally support double-story extensions? Yes, Frank.
Yeah.
That's the case study there. It's very successful, and we'd work with our engineers, with the SIP suppliers to make sure it's fully considered. But yes, it definitely does. Emily Fitch. Also, what percentage of small building companies, i.e. those who build Resi extensions, are well versed with constructing the system in comparison to traditional build? I don't have the exact figures, but I know for Resi, so we have about 115 builders on our systems,
Yeah.
on our books, and the vast majority build in traditional. I would say less than 10% at the minute build actively with us in SIPs. Maybe a bit more have done in the past. But what we're doing at Resi, we are bringing them through an accreditation process with Bentley SIPs to bring them up to speed, to let them know that they can build in SIPs. So it's one step at a time, but we are confident by the end of next year we can get that figure from 10% up to 25, 30%. Mark Stevenson, what airtightness level can be achieved with a SIPs build? How effective is the thermal bridging compared with timber frame? Can this be improved?
Well, so just to give you an idea, the U value you can achieve with a timber frame constructed, say around 230 mil thick, is 0.17. With a traditional masonry cavity, say about 320 mil thick, it's 0.17 as well. With the SIPs, the 265 mil thick built up wall, you can achieve 0.15. That's with regards to the U values. And then obviously the air tightness, the way that the panels are assembled and they come together. Um, this is one of the reasons why you have companies like Bentley who supervise and who come on site to help builders to show them how to put this together. That significantly reduces leakage because this is where the SIPs comes into its own with regards to air tightness. So this has to work with regards to air tightness.
Okay, great. For SIPs, are the foundations required the same as traditional extension?
Yes, it is more or less the same. We are having discussions with structural engineers to see what else can be done in terms of, say, lighter foundations, lighter footings. But
Yeah.
at the moment, it's more or
Yes.
less the
So
same.
basically, if you have a traditional foundation 1 meter deep, it will be sufficient.
Yeah,
Depending on the ground.
yeah.
What about fire performance, Grammy? What certification is required by building regs and warranty providers?
Yeah, so with regards to SIPs with the fire performance, I know with a build-up, cladding build-up of a wall, you can achieve about 90 minutes of suitable protection just from a normal build-up of 265 mil thick.
Yeah.
So,
So with Will building a SIPS extension on, say, a traditional brick and block house have implications to insurance and mortgages? Will it confuse what the house is built from when filling in application forms? So I'd always say with any build, if it's traditional or SIPS, you always contact your home insurance first. That's what we'd always advise customers. Whenever we've been doing our research into SIPs, we are using the Bentley SIPs product because that is the one which has been mentioned by some mortgage providers, some of the big ones. I think it was Santander, and a few other ones.
Yeah.
So what they really want is a bonded material. So again, it's always recommended that you do speak to your mortgage provider or insurance provider, but we do know that a lot of the big ones, they do specify the SIPs project, SIPs company's product, which is the tech system,
Yeah.
which we only specify and work exclusively with them because of this exact reason, and reduce any risks to do with that.
Yeah. We also the accreditation, it's an external testing by the BBA. So that's independent of the manufacturers for the product. So there's no bias.
Does it have BOPAS as well?
Does it?
I think it has BOPAS.
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but BBA is the
gold
British
standard.
Board of Agreement, and it meets the testing for structure, fire, and thermal performance.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why you can get a mortgage on it or refinance.
Yeah. What about the longevity of the structure? Again, the warranties, I think it is 20 years that the warranty has.
Yes, there is a warranty for 20 years. That's pretty bold to offer warranty of a product for 20 years. And as I say, SIPs has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's been around since the 1930s. So you can, it can withstand just as the same as with a traditional build.
Yeah, get in touch with us on that question, because I know whenever I speak to the Bentley SIPs about the question about longevity, their answer is it's really reassuring about it's going to be here for a long time, much longer than the 20 years. So yeah, thanks, Ran. Anonymous, is it acceptable by mortgage lenders? It definitely is. It definitely is acceptable. To reduce any risks, like I said before, that's why we go for the Bentley SIPs product. But again, I'd always recommend speaking to your mortgage provider and your insurance provider before starting any works. Does using SIP for extension have an impact on insurance costs? We've already covered that. So Mark Stevenson, are there ventilation requirements behind the render carrier boards?
Behind the render, yes, there's a ventilation cavity. So you have, if it's a render finish, you'd have the render on, say, a mesh with a board, for instance, like a Thermacell board. And then you'd have ventilation about 25 mil in there. Then you have your membranes and the SIPs, and then you move to the internal part.
Again, Mark, we have a lot of our detail. We detail this all up for you guys. We work with the engineer and the SIPs company, so it's something which we would discuss with you and demonstrate to you in the building regulation stage, which is with Crammy and his team. So Matthew Eastwood, if I was using it as an extension, how would it be joined to the current traditional build?
Yeah, so there are, it's just like with any other timber construction. So you would have a wall plate, say a vertical timber, which would have a damp-proof course.
Yeah.
And then the SIPs, the first panel will be fixed because there's a sort of like a channel that the timber that's fixed to the existing wall would allow the SIPs to slot into that, and then that's fixed, and then you're away with the rest of the panels. So that's how it is.
Okay, so Neil Birch, so can you talk a little about the necessary groundings required with SIPs?
Groundworks.
In between the foundations?
Well, it is advised for lowering embodied carbon that you utilize something like beam and block foundations because there's less steel involved. The manufacturer still raises embodied carbon. So if you imagine a beam and block floor with your walls, your upstands, because the SIPs need to uh, be above the ground by a minimum of about 150 millimeters.
Yeah.
Same as any type of timber frame construction. And on top of that, you have your sole plate. Then the SIPs goes on top of that.
Great. And my got so the code. The code is Resi SIPs. Then you send it to technical@resi.co.uk. Usually these 50 slots are gone within the first week. So yeah, definitely get your email in. And just to repeat, we will have a call with yourself to go through the project. And then if you bring the project to site, we'll visit you on site to see the SIPs project within a reasonable distance of the office. So Kasif, how much energy is saved using SIPs in terms of kilowatts? Good question. I know
Yeah.
it's about 50, 60%, but do you know the actual kilowatt?
No, we're tracking this. So, and that's the other thing. We believe it's a reduction, but we're just tracking for at the moment. We don't have an exact figure on that.
Okay. Can you say anything about the overheating risks of PIR generally? It having a low decrement and allowing a lot of heat in quickly during hot days.
So it's not exposed. You have the cladding, and I did mention the ventilation, the 25 mil minimum ventilation gap, along with the membranes, and then you have the boards, and then your finish. So it's definitely not an exposed element within the build-up. So you should not feel any effects from overheating. Um, i- Compared to a traditional build, um, you would also need to look at your openings as well, and how you can reduce overheating with that. I know there's a lot of improvements in the technology with regards to that, the screens and the shutters
Yeah.
over windows, or like in the Caribbean, we have larger overhangs,
Yeah.
which or breeder soleils. There's loads of ways to look at reducing overheating.
Great. So do you typically use local authority or private building control? What are the common comments from building control? For that case study, it was a private building control.
Yes, it was independent building control.
And the vast majority of our projects are private building control, Daniel. But what was the comments from them on that project?
The surprisingly, building control had no comments with regards to the SIPs itself. There was one item that was raised, and that was with regards to wanting to have an office on the first floor landing, which
Nothing to do with the SIPs.
no. So,
Who are you using to source SIPs panels? As we've been experienced potential clients, find the initial cost to be too high as we do offer a Kingspan SIPs package. It's we use all our SIPs come via Bentley SIPs. Mark, if you email us directly, we can talk about this in more detail. So, Ran McKelly, do you need to still think about ventilation with regards to air tightness?
I would say it is recommended, yes, because then there are also gains if you can be clever about this air that's being heated up. And one of the ways to do that is through mechanical ventilation with heat recovery. So that helps to retain the energy that's being consumed to create the heat. But what it does is dispel the foul air and keep that heat. There's loads of different types of heat recovery solutions as well. So
Okay, last three questions. So, Lauren, what price per square meter? How do SIPs sit in the foundations, and do you need lintels above doors and windows? I think the price per square meter. Do you have that off the top of your head? The price per square meter?
No,
So I think
we
Lauren, if you
don't have.
send us an email with your design and your project, we can definitely help you with the pricing.
Yeah.
And the lintels above doors and windows, they're already built into the structure, so
Yes.
it's part of the factory built walls already have that built in.
It arrives on site with the cutouts for all
Yeah.
openings already. So
Ventilation we've done, and final ones from Ram McKilly. Is there a cost difference overall in comparison to the traditional brickwork, since you still need to get groundwork and roof, etc.?
um, So, uh, well, we've already mentioned that traditional versus SIPs comes in more or less about the
Yeah,
same. I am aware that bricks at the moment is very expensive. Um, so if you, for instance, were to use like brick slips with as a finish on the SIPs, I would imagine that your the cost for the brick slips would be lower
yeah,
compared to trying to obtain full bricks.
yeah,
And the different types of brick slips, which synthetic brick
yeah,
slips
yeah.
as well. There's all sorts of solutions can look into there as well.
I think Ran, the big piece for us is that you can get into your home quicker, so you may save on your rental accommodation, and you will save money on your bills as well. So it's the bigger picture. We're more confident of the price, but whenever it's like for like in terms of like the materials, it can be on parity or a little bit more expensive or a little bit cheaper. It really depends on the project.
Mm.
Final question from Vin. How deep is the foundation? I guess how it depends on the ground makeup. It depends on the condition of the soil. But it is no deeper or shallower than the traditional foundation or traditional build.
No, it will definitely depend on the soil
Yeah,
classification, where you're building. Yes, the structural engineer might take into consideration that the SIPs is lighter,
yeah,
but they also need to do calculations to anticipate development in the future.
yeah.
So I think more or less it works out about the same. So
Okay, I think that's everything now. Thank you everyone at home. Like I said, if you have any questions, just the hashtag Resi SIPs to technical at resi.co.uk. We're super excited about the potential of this here. We're looking forward to doing this more for customers so they can see the benefits in time, being more green, it's for the environment and save money on your bills. So yeah, if you have any questions, please get in touch.